Canada isn't just a pretty picture. Here, polar bears hunt in the deadly silence of the tundra, wolves slip like ghosts through the snow, and the extreme cold kills those who aren't prepared. In this video, you'll see the true wild face of this northern giant. But there's a secret about these predators that few people know, and it might change everything you think you know about Canadian wildlife. Are you ready? Canada is a land where the grandeur of nature shows itself on every horizon. Imagine yourself driving down endless roads that cut through the vast boreal forests, with ancient trees whispering in the wind. The clean air carries the scent of damp wood, while crystal-clear rivers wind through hidden valleys. But that's just a small part of what this country has to offer. To the north, the Arctic tundra stretches out like a white frozen carpet, where the only sound is the sharp wind and the tracks of an Arctic wolf searching for its prey. But what if I told you that these mountains hide one of North America's deadliest predators? Do you know what it is? Here, the fusion of ice and stone creates landscapes that look like they're straight out of a painting. Hidden trails lead to lakes of such a deep blue that they look like portals to another dimension. And as you explore these scenes, one thing becomes clear. This land doesn't belong to humans but to the wild, which rules everything with its own insurmountable balance. For those who seek contrast, Canada delivers in abundance. With each season, the landscape transforms into a spectacle of colors and textures. In the fall, the boreal forests blaze with shades of red and gold, while stealthy deer move among the shadows. In winter, the same scene is covered with a shimmering white blanket, where only the most adapted, like the prairie bison and polar bears, brave the extreme cold. The spectacle continues towards the water. The Great Lakes spread out like inland seas, perfectly reflecting the sky. Their shores, sometimes tranquil, sometimes ravaged by fierce storms, tell stories of sailors and fishermen who learned to respect their power. But Canada's aquatic nature doesn't stop there. From the thunderous falls of Niagara Falls to the remote coves of the Atlantic coastal towns, every drop of water seems to carry an ancient secret. And of course, there are the celestial phenomena. On cold, clear nights, the sky lights up with the aurora borealis, painting curtains of green and purple light on the horizon. Anyone who has witnessed this spectacle knows that it's impossible to describe its magnitude. It's a reminder that even in the middle of the vast frozen Arctic tundra or on the unreachable peaks of the Rocky Mountains, there's a beauty that transcends the tangible. But it's a mistake to think that this land belongs only to what is wild. There are those who have learned to live in harmony with these extreme environments. Indigenous peoples like the Inuit, the Dene, and the Gwich'in have shaped their cultures over centuries, understanding that survival here requires respect and wisdom. Their stories are etched not only in the memory of their communities, but also in the footprints left on the prairies, on the hidden forest trails, and in the rituals that echo under the northern lights. Northern Canada is a world apart, where the landscape challenges any notion of human comfort. The intense cold here is unforgiving. Some nights the temperature drops so low that your breath freezes in the air before it touches the ground. For polar bears, the cold is an ally. For any other living thing, it can be a death sentence. For months, the sun refuses to rise, plunging everything into a silent and relentless darkness. Temperatures plummet to unimaginable levels, freezing even your breath in the air. Here, survival isn't a right, but a daily achievement, where only the most adapted and the most resilient can thrive. It's in this extreme environment that extraordinary creatures make their home. Polar bears, the true rulers of the Arctic, roam the vast white expanse, hunting seals under the fractured ice. With their sharp claws and thick layers of blubber, they defy a cold that would freeze any other living creature. But they are not alone. The Arctic wolf, a silent shadow against the snow, moves with calculated precision, always on the lookout. And above, ravens, the only birds that seem to mock the cold, observe the frozen land, ready to seize any opportunity. The tundra, despite appearing barren, harbors life forms that have learned to resist what seems impossible. Arctic foxes, with their fur that changes color with the seasons, disappear into the landscape, camouflaging themselves against predators. Musk oxen, heirs to the Ice Age, resist the biting wind protected by wool warmer than any human coat. But it's not just the animals that face this reality. Indigenous peoples like the Inuit, Dene, and Gwich'in have lived for centuries in these frozen lands, learning to see opportunities where others only see desolation. With ancestral techniques, they built shelters against the cold and developed a unique connection with the environment. For them, the Arctic is not an icy prison but a home full of wisdom and tradition. The Arctic winter with its endless nights is only one side of the coin. On the other, there's a short and frantic summer, where the sun never sets. During these golden months, life explodes with activity. Lakes thaw, wildflowers defy the frozen ground, and millions of migratory birds return, transforming the sky into a spectacle of color and sound. It's a relentless cycle, where every creature must make the most of the time it has before the ice returns and the absolute silence takes over again. But as extreme as it is, this land holds beauty that defies logic. Anyone who has witnessed the aurora borealis dancing in the sky, reflected in the endless ice, knows there's something almost supernatural about this landscape. And this is just one of the many natural wonders that make Canada a land where the impossible becomes real. After all, even in the harshest cold, life always finds a way to bloom. The roar of the water can be heard from miles away. Even before you see them, you can feel their presence. Niagara Falls isn't just a tourist attraction, it's a spectacle of nature, a raw force that has shaped the land for thousands of years. Located on the border between Canada and the United States, these falls form one of the most impressive scenes in North America. Every second, millions of gallons of water plunge from colossal cliffs, creating a constant mist that refracts sunlight into vibrant rainbows. Divided into three parts, the falls have distinct personalities. Horseshoe Falls, on the Canadian side, is the most majestic, forming a perfect semicircle where the water collapses into a bubbling abyss. The American Falls, although smaller, have their own charm, with jagged rocks that break the flow into multiple cascades. Bridal Veil Falls, the smallest of the three, looks like a delicate veil falling softly, in contrast to the fury of the others. Each one plays its part in the thunderous symphony that echoes through the valley. The power of Niagara Falls is not just a visual spectacle. It's an impressive source of energy. The hydroelectric plants in the region generate enough electricity to power entire cities, transforming the brute force of the falling water into a renewable resource. But this energy was recognized long before modern technology. The indigenous peoples of the region, including the Iroquois cultures, saw the falls as a spiritual portal, a sacred place where the gods of nature spoke through the incessant roar of the water. The proximity to the Great Lakes makes Niagara Falls a crucial link in Canada's water system. It's the point where the waters of Lake Erie plunge towards Lake Ontario, connecting these gigantic freshwater reserves. This relationship is not just geographical, it's vital. Without the falls, the natural flow of the Great Lakes would be interrupted, affecting entire ecosystems and impacting Canada's wildlife, from migratory fish to birds that depend on this balance. But if you think this wonder is limited to what's above the surface, you're mistaken. Beneath the veil of water, there are hidden caves and rock formations shaped by erosion over the centuries. Ancient stories tell of secret tunnels and submerged passages where time seems to have stopped. And even for those who prefer to stay dry, there are ways to experience the grandeur of the falls. A boat trip to the base of the waterfall guarantees an unforgettable experience, where the mist and deafening sound make anyone feel small in the face of nature's immensity. The incessant flow of the water not only sculpts the landscape, but also marks the passage of time. Every year, erosion advances by centimeters, slowly transforming the geography of the region. What we see today is not what existed 1,000 years ago, and it won't be what exists in the future. Niagara Falls is a living reminder that nature is never still, always shaping, always following its course. Canada is a land of giants, where wildlife reigns supreme. Here, predators walk with imposing presence, and prey run to survive in a natural cycle that has existed long before humans dreamed of exploring these lands. Grizzly bears patrol the boreal forests, moving with an apparent calmness that hides tremendous strength. With sharp claws and an almost supernatural sense of smell, they are masters of the art of hunting and territorial dominance. But they are not the only lords of these landscapes. Black bears, smaller and more adaptable, can climb trees as if they were shadows in the dense forest canopy. In the icy rivers that cut through the Rocky Mountains, salmon follow their ancestral call, swimming upstream to spawn. It's a brutal journey where life is renewed, but it also serves as a feast for the hungry bears that await the arrival of these travelers. Each leap of the salmon against the rapids is a battle, and each victory over the current strengthens the food chain. This spectacle of nature happens every year, ensuring not only the survival of the fish, but also the balance of all Canadian wildlife. And it's not just bears that make these lands their home. The moose, with its almost mythological grandeur, walks through the meadows and humid forests, as if it were a creature from an ancient tale. Its immense antlers are a signature of strength and resilience, a symbol of the untouched wilderness of the north. But the moose's tranquility hides an unpredictable temperament. Few animals are as territorial and as ready to fight as it is. For indigenous peoples, the moose is not just an animal, it's a spirit of the forest, a silent guide to the hidden paths among the trees. Further north, where the Arctic tundra challenges any form of life, other predators emerge in the ice. The Arctic wolf, a tireless hunter, glides through the snow with almost invisible steps, tracking its prey with deadly patience. These wolves live in extremely organized packs, where each role. For them, survival is not a matter of luck, but of strategy and loyalty to the group. Few animals have such a strong sense of unity as wolves, making them masters of resilience and teamwork. But life doesn't just thrive on land. In the oceans that bathe the coastal cities of the Atlantic, orcas glide like intelligent shadows, hunting with calculated precision. They communicate in their own dialect, passing knowledge from generation to generation. Some of these orcas have learned hunting techniques so sophisticated that they even create traps for their prey. The Inuit people, who have observed these giants of the sea for centuries, believe that orcas carry secrets from the depths, stories from immemorial times that will never be known by humans. Every animal from the smallest insect to the largest predator is a vital piece in this wild territory. Canada is not just a country, it's a pulsating ecosystem, a symphony of life where each being plays its part in the harmony of nature. But this symphony is always in motion, connected to much larger forces which shape time, the landscape, and even the fate of the creatures that live here. The Rocky Mountains rise like natural walls, separating territories, challenging travelers, and protecting secrets as old as time itself. This impressive mountain range stretches across British Columbia and Alberta, covering the horizon with snowy peaks that seem to touch the sky. During winter, snow covers everything like a silent blanket, hiding trails and freezing rivers, while in summer, the valleys transform into lush green havens for Canadian wildlife. It's a landscape of extremes, where life is shaped by the harsh rules of high altitude and unpredictable weather. In the middle of this giant territory, stealthy predators watch with focused eyes. The Arctic wolf, a master of adaptation, patrols the rocky slopes looking for prey that will challenge its cunning. Its white fur blends into the snow in winter, making it almost invisible, while in the summer it moves with surgical precision, leading its pack on strategic hunts. But it's not alone. Mountain lions with their deadly grace move among the cliffs, waiting for the right moment to strike. Every animal here knows the rules of this game. The strongest and smartest survive. The rivers born in the Rockies feed entire ecosystems, bringing life to the boreal forests and to the prairies that stretch as far as the eye can see. The melting mountain snow forms crystal-clear streams that wind through the land, sustaining everything from tiny aquatic insects to the enormous moose that come down to drink from these pure waters. The circle of life stays balanced, driven by the same force that carved the valleys and shaped the cliffs over thousands of years. The Rockies aren't just a physical barrier. They're the backbone of a wild and vibrant world. But don't be fooled. This grand landscape isn't just a refuge for animals. For indigenous peoples like the Inuit, Dene, and Gwich'in, the Rocky Mountains have always been more than just land. They're a spiritual sanctuary. These tribes see the peaks as homes of ancestral spirits, sacred places where you can hear the whispers of the earth. Their knowledge of Canada's geography and their deep connection with the wilderness allowed them to survive in environments that many would consider uninhabitable. On the coldest nights, when the sky lights up with the northern lights, the mountains seem to come alive. The lights dance over the peaks, reflecting on the ice and transforming the landscape into a show of colors and shadows. This phenomenon, as mysterious as it is mesmerizing, has inspired countless legends among the people who live in these regions. Some believe they are ancestral spirits sending messages. Others believe it's a portal to realms unseen by human eyes. But no matter what you believe, one thing is for sure. Witnessing this phenomenon from the top of the Rockies is an experience that defies explanation. And so the Rocky Mountains stand tall, challenging those who dare to explore them. But their reign doesn't end here. Their influence spreads, connecting to other territories, other wild landscapes that share the same untamed spirit. Further on, the prairies open up, revealing another key piece of this great natural mosaic. The Canadian prairies stretch out like an endless green ocean, a land where the wind whispers ancient stories and the earth breathes with a rhythm of its own. Here, the horizon spreads out in every direction with no barriers, no limits, just vastness and silence broken by the distant sound of the prairie buffalo on the move. These furry giants who once ruled the landscape in countless numbers are more than just part of Canada's wildlife. They are living symbols of resilience and connection to the land. For centuries, their presence has shaped the culture of indigenous peoples, providing food, shelter, and even spiritual guidance. But buffalo aren't the only masters of this land. Hawks soar in the sky, their outstretched wings catching the warm air currents rising from the dry land. Red foxes glide through the tall grass, their tails leaving trails that disappear in the dancing wind. And among the shadows of the rolling hills, deer move with careful steps, watchful for the predators that lurk. The food chain unfolds at its silent pace, maintaining the balance of an ecosystem where each creature has its defined role. During winter, the prairies turn into a cold, white desert where only the toughest can make it. Arctic wolves can travel over 2,000 kilometers a year looking for food. On freezing nights, they hunt without a sound, listening for every step of their prey in the snow. One single mistake can mean death. For the indigenous people, these wolves are more than hunters. They are messengers of winter, announcing the arrival of hard times and trials. But even under the weight of the snow, life finds a way to persist, preparing for rebirth with the arrival of spring. And when spring finally awakens, the prairies explode in color. Wildflowers paint the ground with vibrant hues as insects and migratory birds return to restart the cycle of life. It's a silent yet powerful spectacle, where every detail contributes to a delicate balance. The melted waters from the Rocky Mountains flow down here, feeding the streams and preparing the soil for what's to come. Time moves forward at its own pace, indifferent to human concerns. For indigenous cultures like the Gwich'in and the Dene, the prairies aren't just open lands, they're sacred. Every hill, every river, every trail made by the buffalo carries a story. These stories aren't written in books, but are passed down from generation to generation, echoing in the wind that never stops blowing. Being connected to nature isn't a choice here, it's a way of life, an understanding that everything is connected. And as the sun sets, painting the sky with golden and purple hues, the prairies get ready for another night under a starry sky. But nature's cycle doesn't stop here. Further on, the waters of the Great Lakes await, holding deep secrets and stories from times long ago. The Great Lakes stretch out like giant water mirrors, reflecting the sky and connecting territories like veins that nourish the surrounding life. This freshwater giant, the largest lake system on the planet, isn't just a geographical spectacle. It's a lifeline for Canadian wildlife, for the economy, and for the very history of the country. Their icy waters lap against entire cities, support indigenous communities, and serve as waterways for boats traveling between the present and a past filled with mysteries and achievements. On calm days, the surface of the Great Lakes looks like a hand-painted canvas, a mirror reflecting the sky, a peaceful landscape, a perfect reflection of the world above, just like the cover of Pink Floyd's album. But this calmness doesn't last forever. Out of nowhere, the weather changes and the waters transform into a truly rough sea, swallowing boats and challenging even the most experienced sailors. For indigenous peoples like the Inuit and Dene, these waters have always been sacred, full of spiritual meaning, portals to other worlds, home to unseen forces. Those who don't respect nature, who don't listen to their elders, might just become another story, one of many that circulate in the mists of cold mornings. But the richness of the Great Lakes goes far beyond their beauty. The biodiversity is amazing. Salmon, pike, and other species swim among the plants like a giant aquarium. Ospreys soaring high above, ready for a perfect dive. Life pulsates in cycles, following the seasons, integrating the waters with the forests that surround them. Moose and black bears quenching their thirst at the water's edge, always alert to any suspicious movement. And it's not just wildlife that benefits from the Great Lakes. They are true veins and arteries for commerce, connecting Canada with the whole world, like the highways that cross America. Cities like Toronto and Montreal grew and prospered thanks to these trade routes. Cargo ships, fishing boats, speedboats, and yachts sharing the same waters as the ancient indigenous canoeists centuries ago, carrying riches, stories, and secrets that only the depths know. And when night falls, with that bone-chilling wind, and the silvery moon reflecting on the water, the Great Lakes show their mysterious side. Old sailors tell stories of strange lights wandering over the waters like lost souls. Some say it's nature, natural phenomena, others swear it's something otherworldly, something we can't explain. Whatever it is, these lakes hold secrets that only the bravest dare to uncover. But the Great Lakes are only part of Canada's vastness. Up north, in the darkness of the polar night, the aurora borealis shines, a spectacle of vibrant colors that attracts adventurers and dreamers in search of the unknown. When night falls over the Canadian landscapes, a magical spectacle takes place in the northern sky. The aurora borealis dances like a veil, mixing green, purple, and blue in a silent ballet. For indigenous peoples like the Inuit and the Gwich'in, these lights are much more than a natural phenomenon. They are messages from the spirits, signs of change, warnings that only those connected to the earth can understand. But for anyone who sees this wonder, it's impossible not to be moved by the grandeur of the universe. And the Canadian sky holds other surprises. In summer, in some Arctic regions, the sun doesn't set, creating the midnight sun phenomenon. Imagine a day that never ends, with the golden sun illuminating everything, challenging our notion of time, like those party days we don't want to end. For the Arctic peoples, like the Dene and Inuit, this is a time of plenty. Hunting, fishing, and ancestral traditions take on special meaning. It's important to enjoy every moment because the relentless winter is always lurking. But Canada's mystery isn't just in the sky. Beneath the earth, caverns hold even deeper secrets. In British Columbia, underground labyrinths hide fossils of prehistoric animals and rock formations millions of years old. Ancient peoples used these caves as sanctuaries, places of encounter between the spiritual and material worlds. Today, explorers and scientists try to decipher the stories of these caverns, knowing that each discovery can change our understanding of the past. And as if the beauty of the sky and earth weren't enough, Canada has a special relationship with water. Besides the Great Lakes and Niagara Falls, there are rivers and lakes so crystal clear they seem otherworldly. Waters so pure they look like natural swimming pools. At Lake Moraine in the Rocky Mountains, the turquoise water reflects the mountains like a magic mirror. Up north, in almost untouched places, the icy rivers cut through the tundra, bringing life to every corner, a true oasis in the midst of the vast wilderness. But the mysteries of Canada don't end there. Those who venture through the forests or contemplate the vastness of the plains feel the presence of something grand, invisible to the eyes, but real in the soul. Ancient legends speak of guardian spirits, beings that dwell between worlds, guardians of the wild nature. For those who know how to listen, the wind carries whispered stories, and the earth holds the memory of ancestral times. And the journey continues. From the mountains to the lakes, from the lights of the sky to the underground mysteries, every corner of Canada has a story to tell. But it's on the Atlantic coast that the union between land and sea becomes even stronger, where coastal cities face the force of the ocean, keeping ancient traditions alive. In the far east of Canada, where the Atlantic crashes with full force against the cliffs, life follows the rhythm of the tides. The coastal cities have a history tied to the sea. Fishing villages, busy harbors, and legends that the wind carries. From Newfoundland to Nova Scotia, the region has a unique culture, with whales swimming in icy waters and ospreys hunting in the sky. Nature and history intertwine, like the waves that constantly beat against the rocks. The icy waters of the Atlantic are unpredictable and full of life. For centuries, fishing, especially cod fishing, sustained local communities. Cod was the gold of the sea, but overfishing almost wiped it out. Many fishermen had to adapt. Today the ecosystem is recovering, and sustainable fishing is crucial, but the ocean holds mysteries. Unknown creatures, shipwrecks, and stories of sailors lost at sea, as if the ocean had its own secrets. A universe of mysteries to be unraveled. If the sea is the soul of this region, the surrounding forests and hills are its beating heart. Winding trails cut through Cape Breton Highlands National Park, where giant moose emerge from the trees and the winds carry the scent of pine. On Prince Edward Island, green fields stretch to the horizon, contrasting with the reddish cliffs sculpted by time. The landscape looks like something out of an old storybook, where every bend in the road reveals a new scene worthy of admiration. But the maritime provinces aren't just about nature. The Celtic culture left by the first settlers echoes in music festivals, traditional dances, and even in the language of some Nova Scotians. In Halifax, one of the world's deepest natural harbors, historic pubs tell stories through songs, and the sea breeze carries the sound of bagpipes. This connection to their roots is reflected in local pride, a sense of identity that withstands time and the changes of the modern world. And then there are the lighthouses, solitary sentinels that have watched over the coast for centuries. With their rotating lights, they warn of dangers hidden in treacherous waters. Peggy's Cove Lighthouse, perhaps the most iconic in Canada, stands on a rock like a silent guardian, witnessing storms and calms, farewells and reunions. For sailors, these lighthouses are much more than structures of stone and light. They are guides in the darkness, symbols of the eternal struggle between man and the ocean. But even with all this maritime legacy, Canada holds even more mysteries and riches beyond the coast. From the Arctic ice to the endless prairies, every piece of this land hides secrets that defy time. The question that remains is, what else might be waiting to be discovered? Now that you've seen the true face of Canada, with its boreal forests, frozen tundras, and the predators that dominate this wild territory, it's clear that there's much more behind the landscapes we know. Nature here is fierce, and its mysteries still hold incredible secrets. If you're curious and want to continue exploring everything Canada has to offer, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos.